Joining me on the Hill today is Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson. Congressman, welcome to the program here. $6 trillion. I mean, it's hard to get your head around how big that really is and the kind of spending increase this represents. What do you make of it?
It's astounding. Reckless is a charitable description for this spending plan. It's foolish. It's dangerous. Choose your descriptor. If you look at just from a historical perspective of what President Biden and the administration are proposing here, it's larger than anything we've ever seen. This would be the largest increase in tax burden on the American people, hardworking American families in the history of our nation. They want to raise taxes, but not just the way that you would normally associate increase in tax burdens. They want to raise $55 trillion in new taxes over the course of 10 years. And they want to increase the national debt. That's the proposal. Increase our national debt to about $39 trillion in just 10 years by 2031. But this is not a sustainable trajectory, but they are defying reality and common sense. And this is, they're proposing this with a straight face. It's really unbelievable.
$39 trillion in debt, that's just based on this proposal. That doesn't take into account other proposals that the Democrats are putting forth for infrastructure and a host of other ideas. Now, they say they're only going to raise taxes on those earning $400,000 or more, but I think we know better than that, you and I. I don't know what you're paying for gas in Louisiana's 4th Congressional District, but I know it's over $3 where I am, up about $1 or more since Joe Biden took office. I look at the price of lumber, the price of houses, the price of used cars. Everything is through the roof, Congressman. And so I don't know how you measure taxes, but it used to be it's cost me more out of my pocket to live day to day. That's an increase. I don't care what you call it. And it's becoming a bigger problem, isn't it?
Well, of course it is. And there's no recognition of that reality in this spending plan. They ignore inflationary concerns. But obviously, this is Economics 101. We all remember the basics from our early college courses as freshmen. If the government spends so much money and you put so much new currency into the economy, there will be an inflationary effect of that. And that's what we're seeing. These massive spending plans and all the COVID spending and everything, you know, the individual jobless benefits and all that, it has a very real effect on every American, not just the wealthy, not just the people in the top 1%, all of us. And so people are seeing that. I think there's a lot of buyer's remorse about this last election cycle. A lot of voters voted for President Biden because they thought he was a nice fella. But now they see that he came along with a whole set of policies, a philosophy, an ideology that is very dangerous to them, to their pocketbook, their security, and the survival of their freedom. And really, that's what's at stake in this next election cycle. We're going to have a reckoning for this.
Well, right. And you look at the tax increases, these are forever because you cannot put this kind of money into a plan, any plan, and not be honest about the fact you have to raise taxes permanently. You'll never be able to cut back in certain places because you'll never be able to pay for these things. And I go back to the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. 93% of that is money being spent over the next 10 years, not right now, not on what happened with the pandemic, but over the next 10 years. And you look at these budgets, taking us to $39 trillion in debt. And honestly, sir, it will probably be much higher. And yet there are some Republicans that I hear that seem to be going along with this. What would you say to your colleagues?
Let's wake up and look at reality and look at the real effect that this will have, not just on Americans, their security, their survival of their freedom, the things we just spoke of, but let's just talk about national defense. What the Biden spending proposal and his plan proposes is that while we're going to have all this massive new spending on Green New Deal initiatives and all this kind of big government, big liberal wish list item stuff, they're going to reduce military spending, defense spending, to the lowest level since before World War II as a percentage of our economy at the worst possible time. So this spending plan is not just bad for the economy and all of us in our daily lives, but it's a gift to China and our adversaries, our competitors on the world stage. They love that we're misplacing our priorities in this way, or at least that's the proposal that there will be. Look, I hope that my Republican colleagues, none of them will go along with this. There would be a reckoning for them, I think, in the next election cycle if they did. We have to get back to common sense. We have to be good stewards of the nation's finances, and this is not the way to do it.
And Congressman, I agree with you. I do believe there's a reckoning coming. First of all, there's been a realignment, and congressional seats are coming to red states. Texas and Florida come to mind. Montana picking up seat that could go red as well. And it's likely the Republicans will take control of Congress because of ideas like this. But that's more than a year away. What do you do to stand in the gap of these efforts by the Democrats to ram things through without Republican votes at all? It seems some of that has stalled, but their ambitions have not. They want to take this country so far to the left that most of us wouldn't recognize it.
Well, we have been encouraged by signals and statements being made by people like Joe Manchin in the Senate over the last couple of days. There's been a lot said and debated about that. But he and others, moderates, I would say the remaining common sense Democrats in the Senate, will not go along with getting rid of that filibuster. And I think that's the safety valve for us right now. Nancy Pelosi has a very narrow margin in the House. Her majority is down to really, on most votes, about 4-vote margin she has on the Republicans. So it's the smallest majority since about the World War II era. And she has very little area there. She's got to keep her team together. I think the Republicans are encouraged. I think we're going to stand together. I think we will oppose this. And we'll send a signal to the American people, and we'll message this over the next year going into the 22 cycle. And I believe we're going to have a red wave of reconciliation, let's say that, in the election cycle of 22. I think we take back the majority. I think that's what the historical trends say, the redistricting trends as well. And of course, the fact that they're going so far left on all these policy proposals, that says a lot to the American people. I think they're watching.
Well, I think you're right about that, Congressman. One last question, that is this. How do we get those millions of jobs that remain open today filled? How do we get the country back to where we were in January of 2020 without putting the thumb screws to you and I and everybody else in the form of taxes? How do we get back to working? We were at a place that the unemployment rate was 3.5%. Worker participation now has dropped from where it was. We had the highest worker participation. We had the lowest unemployment. We had the healthiest economy of my lifetime, all derailed by the pandemic. But what can you and Republicans do to persuade Joe Biden and his administration to get us back to where we were, or at least on that track?
Well, we're talking to our colleagues, the Democrat colleagues, about applying common sense. You have to stop incentivizing and paying people more to stay home than to get back into the job market. In April, we had 9.3 million job openings in this country. It's a record, and employers were only able to fill 1 out of 15 job openings. That is not a sustainable track for the nation's greatest economy, obviously. So when the government is incentivizing people to stay home with this extra $300 weekly unemployment benefit, and stimulus checks and a new child tax credit, and Obamacare subsidies and all the rest, people are making a rational economic decision that it's better for them and their family to just stay home and sit on the couch. We have to reverse those policies, obviously. And so we need the administration and our colleagues in Congress to recognize that and double down on the policies that gave us that greatest economy in history prior to the pandemic.
Congressman, greatly appreciate you being here today. Good conversation. Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana's 4th Congressional District. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless.